Hey gang, SpiderMan Dan here, coming at you with issue 5 of Sega Visions magazine. As you can see, we got Sonic on the cover here with his little attitude. We got Toe Jam and Earl up in the front corner there. And as you can see, it came out in summer of 1991. So let's jump right in. Here we are with a nice Renovation layout. Renovation does what 9-year-olds want. I wasn't 9 years old at the time, but definitely wanted a lot of these games because they were great. And you can see they got some great ratings from the other magazines. Yeah, I would recommend all these games actually. I mean, Final Zone and Granada I don't have a whole lot of experience with, but given their track record, I mean, you probably can't go wrong. So let's continue. Here we are with the table of contents. Zoom in real quick. Alright, here we go with Are You a Genesis Genius Part 2. What do you say, Mini-Bit? Should we read this? No? Alright. Well, I'll zoom in for a quick second here. Alright, next page. Alright. You can see we got the answers from the previous one, which I can't remember what my answers were, so I'm not going to worry about it. Alright, Mini-Bit, here we got the letter from the publisher. Shall we read that? Alright, I'll just zoom in real quick so everyone else can read that. Alrighty. Now here we got Kajikai? I don't know how you pronounce that one exactly, but I remember this game in the arcades of Cedar Point in our big arcade building, and I was fascinated by it. I mean, the graphics on the arcade were pretty fun. I mean, as you can see, just, the big-headed characters really caught my interest, I guess. And, it was a fun little, easy game to get into. You had 2 attack buttons and a jump button. But the Genesis version, I wasn't too impressed with, I guess, because it wasn't exactly like the arcade, I guess. But, it was by Sage's creation, and as you can see, they also did Insector X, Shadow Blasters, and Crackdown. Those games are pretty fun. Again, my experience was limited on that so far. But, otherwise, I mean, the Genesis version above average, I guess. But the arcade version was the one I liked the most, I guess. His little art style here really looks funny with that kind of claymation look to it. And I've gone over this layout before, so we'll just kind of skip ahead. Alright, Mini-Bit, how about this mailbox section? Wow, he's just, negative Nancy today. But I'll zoom in for everybody else. Alrighty, here we go with Street Smart. This came out before Street Fighter 2 on the Genesis did, and I think that's what they were trying to, cash in on, was a Street Fighter 2 arcade game, hype. But otherwise, it was an average fighting game. I mean, nothing special about it. I mean, I remember renting it one time. It was a good weekend rental, but that's about it. Not much to remember about it. Alright, Game Doctor, I'm just going to go ahead and read one of these. Because one of these did catch my interest here, this one. I own a Sega Master System with 7 games, one of which is called Govialis Valley of Doom. At the end of this game, it says to be continued, yet I haven't seen the sequel in stores. Could you please clarify this? Unfortunately, there is no plans at this time to release a sequel to this game. Which really sucked because I don't think we ever did get a sequel, and it was a really great game. This was like the second RPG game I ever finished after Phantasy Star. And it was a bit of a Zelda clone, I guess, with the side-scrolling adventure type and the top-down exploration part. But yeah, I can remember the ending to it where you're up on the shoulders of that beast friend of yours, and walking off into the sunset. It was a great game, I thought, at the time. Very memorable music, and yeah, just overall fun. So here, let me zoom in on the rest of the questions for anybody else that wants to look at these. Alright, continuing on here. Alright, party time. Alright, Ordner. I believe my brother got this game back in the day, and I never paid much attention to it until later. And, it ended up being a pretty fun game. Never finished it at all back then. I only recently did, and that was because using like cheats for it, like an emulation, like rewinding, and that last boss, there would have been no way I could have finished it if I didn't do that little rewind cheat, because there's no way to just dodge all the fireballs and stuff getting thrown at you. I mean, graphics look a little simplistic, but they really fit the game, I thought. I know this is an arcade port, and I never played the arcade, never seen it, so I mean, for me this was a completely original title at the time. But great game nonetheless, very difficult. And again, Street Smart, like I said, trying to cash in on Street Fighter 2's success. Wings of War, rented this maybe once or twice. It was probably, I guess, an above average side-scroller shooter. Crossfire though, never played this, but looking at this screenshot, it reminds me of Rambo, that came out earlier for the Genesis. So I probably would have enjoyed this game a lot. And then here we got Warrior of Rome. Again, I wasn't into RTS games, so I never really paid attention to it. Next page, here we go, Toe Jam and Earl. Great co-op game. Me and my buddies used to play this till eon hours in the night. Much slower paced, but overall still fun. I love the little audio snippets that that were kind of throughout the game. Like if you got hurt, you'd hear him go "Youch!" I remember on the very first stage, which was this one, somewhere off one of the corners there was a warp zone you could go to, but the only way to get to it was you needed a pair of those rocket skates or an inner tube, because otherwise if you just try to swim out to it, you'll drown every time and not get to it. And so the only way to get those is you got to go up a few levels to try hopefully get lucky enough to find a pair of those skates or the inner tube. But when you come back and you go into the warp, it would take you to, I think, level 0, if I remember right. And there's a little hot tub with these Hawaiian girls in it. You could hop in and you hear the like little banter that they would give you, and there's also a bunch of bonus items down there you could get. But yeah, it was a neat little thing. But overall, yeah, the game itself, slow paced, but still a very fun co-op game. I remember one of the gimmicks was that every stage would be different every time you played through it. So yeah, then we got Batman over here. Again, like I said, great game, didn't get very far into it. For some reason I remember in another magazine them talking about your standard television versus an RPG or RGB output screen connection, I guess. And like they use this screen as an example, and I remember them showing like on the regular version you can't read that, but on the RGB you could, and it actually says "Don't walk" in that little crosswalk sign. And so basically, RGB made everything much more crisp and clear, which nowadays isn't a big deal, but back then it was a very cool thing. Of course, you needed, I think, a computer monitor or whatever hooked to your Genesis, which I never did. So anyway, continuing on. Here we got Abrams Battle Tank and 6088 Attack Sub. Again, wasn't into strategy simulator type games back then. Because, I mean, just the way they looked, they reminded me of, you know, simulation games on the old Commodore 64 that I tried to play and couldn't really get anywhere. Then we got Fantasia on the bottom here. I remember renting this. I do have it now, but I think I got it super cheap. But I remember the controls are kind of floaty. It's definitely no Castle of Illusion, so I definitely understand why game magazines gave it low scores, just because, I mean, the artwork looks great, but the gameplay and everything else wasn't the greatest. And here we go with Sonic the Hedgehog. Again, one of my favorite games at the time that it came out. I remember going on a trip to Florida with my family to see my aunt, and I brought this with me, and this and my Genesis and a few other handful of games. Whenever we weren't out doing something or it was rainy out, I would be playing this game all the time. Again, great level design. Here we got a little pop quiz here for anybody who wants to kind of read this. And we got the answers right down here. They're upside down, so you're gonna have to flip your screen or whatever. But yeah, I mean, overall, just a fantastic game. I mean, totally understand why Sonic became Sega's mascot. And yeah, we'll go on. Here we got Ace Star 3. This one, I didn't play as much as I did part 1 or 2. I don't even think, I never finished this one. I got as far as the second generation of characters. But I think the reason why I never got far into it is I didn't have a hint book for it. Which back then I really needed those. But I don't know, the overall art style was a more traditional RPG look. I mean, I think I liked the previous ones because they're kind of more anime inspired. So maybe that's the reason why I didn't really get heavily into it. Otherwise, I mean, it's still, you know, a solid RPG. I mean, I'm currently playing it on one of my Genesis collections. And eventually, maybe I'll end up finishing it. But, yeah, and over here we got coming attractions. We got Streets of Rage. Another fantastic Genesis game. Me and my buddies used to play this all the time. I mean, everything great about it. I mean, one nitpick, I guess, would be I wish that the character sprites would have been bigger like they are in part 2. But other than that, I mean, it was just a great game. We got Shining in Darkness, another RPG game. I actually did have this. Never finished it. I mean, I don't remember how far I got. I think it's hard to tell how far you are in this because it was only one huge dungeon, if I remember. Musically, it was very catchy in this, and I remember this, like in the inn, or this tavern, I mean, this music was just very catchy. You're always like tapping your foot when you're hearing it. But overall, you know, still a fun game, something I need to go back to and finish. We got our nice Game Gear layout. Actual Game Gear. And again, when Game Gear first came out, I didn't grab it then, so I never played any of these initial run games, like Dragon Crystal and all. But I think my first game I got for it was Shinobi, and I don't remember the ones after that. Of course, I mean, columns came with it, so that was a given. But here, let's look at the specs here. Incredible color, displays 32 intense colors on screen out of a total palette of 4,996. That's crazy because nowadays, I mean, how many colors do modern games display? Like millions? I mean, it's pretty crazy how far we've come. Got Dragon Crystal here. Again, I never played this one either. I mean, it looks cool, cool RPG. But I never got it. Alright, we're here. Castle of Illusion. I didn't get the actual Master System, or Game Gear version of this, but I had the Master System version. And like I said, I think in last-ish episode, I had the Master Gear converter, so I just would play the Master System version of this on my Game Gear, and it looks exactly the same. It plays exactly the same, I would imagine. And, Super Monaco GP, didn't really care for this because I played the Genesis, and this was a pale comparison to that version, as you can see. I mean, granted, I never played this, so I don't know, maybe it was a really fun racing game on the Game Gear, so I mean, I guess I don't know. G-Lock, never got interested in this either. To me, it looked too much like a simulation game. So, couldn't tell you anything about this one, really. And we got some Game Gear coming attractions. We got Joe Montana Football, and we got SpiderMan again. Never played the Game Gear version of that, or the Master System version for that matter. Which, Master System version does look really good. If I would have got this before I got a Genesis, I probably would have enjoyed this game. It looks really nice. Of course, we got the big Stormlord layout. Alright. Operation Game Gear. Superstar Kids Challenge. You know, I often wonder, because I'm looking at this, and you got Bud from Married with Children, Punky Brewster. I mean, I wondered if these celebrities got to keep these Game Gears after they're done with the whole little competition thing. Uh-oh, Bruce Jenner? Who's that? Oh yeah, you got those, Blossom and... what's her name? Yeah, Stephanie from Full House. But yeah. A pretty neat little article here. Game counselors, yeah, don't really care. This is a really good picture here. Whoever it is, looks like it's based on Sector X. Zoom here. I mean, that's pretty sharp for a pencil drawing. Wow. And that's another little artwork here. I mean, pretty darn good. A lot better than I could have drawn. Batman layout. Visions into the Future. CES edition. I can honestly attest that all these games, with the exception of hockey and volleyball here, are all fantastic games. Midnight Resistance. Great game. Would have been better if I had two-player co-op. Quackshot, just as good as Castle of Illusion. You know, same quality, everything. It was a really fun game. Twin Cobra reminded me of Thunderblade. I can't remember if it was one or two-player game on that one, but we got Alien Storm 2-player. One thing I hated about the Genesis version is I would always run out of energy, so I would eventually not be able to fire my gun, which in turn would end up getting me killed. We got Decap Attack, which was kind of a spiritual successor to Psycho Fox on the Master System. And then we got Spider-Man again. Great game, but my one pet peeve on this is that freaking darn time limit. And here we got Mercs again. If this would have been a two-player co-op, it would have been just absolutely perfect. Very close to the arcade, I feel. But again, all these games definitely worth picking up if you can find them or emulate them. Alright, we got 5 scores. Let's zoom in real quick for those. Alright, Ultimate Quicks. Never played this one. It looks like it's kind of a top-down shooter. Yeah, no experience with this one whatsoever, so I couldn't even tell you what it was like. compare it to. Oh, yeah, it looks like that's it. Cruising CES this issue. Check out pages 42 and 43 for the latest Genesis type game. Catch you next time, dudes and dudettes. Niles will be back next issue with an awesome new adventure inside Sega's new Game Gear. Yeah, you know what? I honestly didn't miss him. How about you, Minibit? Did you miss him? We're actually in agreement today on that one. So, I guess that's going to be it for this episode. I will catch you guys next time.